Howdy, folks. So, make sure my mic is still on. This is now the third or fourth time I've recorded this because I keep going on rants instead of staying on topic because I'm really pissed off about what I saw. Um, we're going to talk about the Cali fires, but specifically, I want to talk about the interviews that they're having now that people are trying to go back into the area. So they had LA, CBS in LA, and they had Fox News interviewing folks in two different locations that were parked on the side of the road waiting for the National Guard to allow them to go back into their homes, or at least to see if their home was still there, right? And a lot of people were like, I don't know if my home's there. Some said, yeah, I saw my home on a helicopter footage 20 minutes ago, so I know it's there. I just got to see the damage and etc. There was one young couple that came on and they were like, oh, we just moved down from, I don't remember, Michigan or somewhere. And they're like, we've been here a year and a half. We really didn't know this kind of thing was that bad. We knew there were fires. We thought it was like in this other area, which is fine. They were a young couple. They didn't know. But then another woman came on and said, yeah, I got to get back to my house. My house supposedly is still there. My neighbor said it's there. It had some damage on like the garage or something. But we need our necessary meds. We don't have a change of clothes. We don't have this. We don't have that. They chased us out at 2 a.m. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, I'm in Texas. I was watching from when the first Palisade fire really started growing, where it hit like that. There's like a threshold, like a 20,000 acre mark where it's like, okay, now it's a class whatever fire. And the alerts started going out and people waited for the government to tell them when to leave, what to do. And then you have outcomes like this. Then they interviewed a firefighter who was with an animal rescue person saying, yeah, we've picked up X number of dogs, cats, and the fire department's like, yeah, we're finding dead pets everywhere. It's just really bad. And people left their pets behind. And that pisses me off. So I'm going to say right now, a lot of people are going to look at this video at the end and say, you're victim blaming. Maybe so. Maybe so. People need to take accountability and ownership of their situation, period. Okay, you choose to live somewhere where there's risk, try to at least understand what those risks are. When you go somewhere and you just remain oblivious, you have a negative outcome. Okay, and just because the last 3 hurricanes or 3 tornadoes or 3 fires or 3 earthquakes didn't affect you badly doesn't mean the next one won't. And so I'm going to go through 5 topics I think we need to discuss, and I'm going to try and do them quickly. First of all, I cover this in my book. For those of you new to my channel, the book is called Defensive Preparedness, not a big book. It gives you a breakdown. Not if you're looking for a list of how to make a bug out bag, that's not what's in there. It's a list of how to think about preparedness in a holistic sense as part of your life, not simply, oh, well, I have these things on my checklist, now I'm good, I'm a prepper, or I'm ready for disaster. No. I cover everything from credit to economics to geography to demographics of different areas. So, it's probably a little cheaper on Kindle because you don't have to pay for like paper. But in any case, I'm going to tell you some of this now for no charge because it just needs to be out there. One, understand your geography. It's something I've spoken about a lot. That includes the area, the terrain, the weather, the roads, the number of people, the demographic of the people. When I say that, not black, white, brown, but I'm talking more about, do they have resources? Is it a poor community? Because a poor community will have less access to firefighting equipment, less likely to have sprinklers in their home. Whereas if you have a $60 million mansion, you probably have sprinklers. You kind of catch what I'm saying? So yeah, it's to understand what's around you in entirety, if that makes sense. Know your geography. Once you've assessed your location, your geography, the typical things that happen there, then you assess your risks. Okay, hurricanes are very rare in the West Coast. They do happen, but very rarely. I've seen a handful in my life. You live in Houston, you're getting one every year, every other year. That's just the way Houston is. That's how New Orleans, that's how Florida is, right? They get hit by shit all the time. But they don't have those fires that they do out west. So understanding what risk is specific to you will inform you in how you plan for that risk. Okay. Nothing frustrates me more than people live in a certain area for 5-10 years and then, the house floods and they're like, well, we didn't think it would flood here. Did you not look at the flood maps? I've literally asked people, didn't you, when you bought your house, you didn't look at the flood maps that you were in a flood zone? No, it wasn't required by insurance because it was a 500-year flood zone, not a 50-year flood zone. I'm like, if I'm in anything resembling a flood zone, I'm going to get flood insurance. As a matter of fact, I'm not in a flood zone. But as an engineer who deals with geologists and geographers all the time, I know the ground out here does not absorb water. So we get any significant inundation, the water's going to come up, not down. It'll eventually flow away, but it'll pool, and I know that. I'm on a hill, which is good. I chose the house for a reason. I face north, not toward a prevailing wind. I did that for a reason. I picked my house specifically, not just because of what was inside, but how it was positioned against what's outside. So understanding those things. 3, complacency. The woman who lived there 47 years should have known that once those fires started and they hit that first threshold, she should have had her own threshold. Hey, you know what? That fire is getting ugly. Let's start pre-packing. Let's pack some luggage. Let's get the dog. Let's get the dog food in a Ziploc bag. Let's get water. Let's call a hotel in, I don't know, Vegas. If you have a trailer, great. Pull the trailer around, start packing the trailer, get the truck, and then say, okay, let's wait and see. The worst that happens, they put the fire out. You're like, yay, we win. And you can put everything back. And now you just gave yourself work. But when the fire gets to a certain point, you need to be ready to go. So complacency. Well, we never had to do it before, and we didn't think we'd have to do it now. 47 years is a long time to get that complacent. And she even admitted it. I took it for granted. She admitted it. And then, you know, I hope she recovers. I'm glad her house is in one piece. But how many other people took it for granted? Oh, they'll put it out until the apocalypse was at their yard and they didn't know what to do. So 4, have a plan. Plan. What are we taking? Where are we going? How are we getting there? Are cars fueled, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When we were in hurricane country, and the minute we saw a storm, we'd watch where track was. Now, they rarely went left. Every now and then they would. Harvey actually went left and caused a bunch of problems. Usually they kind of pinhook to the right. If they're coming up from Cuba, they make a right turn to Florida. When they come really low over the Yucatan, they usually go up the coast and hit Houston. And you see the pattern, you kind of know, yeah, that one's got a good shot of hitting us. You never know exactly. But we're like, okay, let's fill up all the cars tonight. We got 4 days. If it looks really bad, by 48 hours out, we're going to start calling friends and relatives and check on hotels. I want to be out the door before everyone else if it comes to an evac. If I'm going to stay in place, I want to have everything ready. I want to have my vehicles fueled because I may have to make runs locally. I may have to help someone. I want to have my batteries charged, power tools ready, hand tools ready, PPE ready, water boots, etc. You're in that country, fire country. Okay, what are we taking? Taking my books, my valuables, my insurance papers. You should have it all kind of where you can find it. So if we need to go and we're like, hey, there's a fire out here in West Texas and it's headed this way and we know the winds go a certain way out here. Okay, let's start packing now. Let's stage it in the foyer or in the office, lay everything out, and then let's watch this. And if we decide, okay, now it's getting ugly, it's time to leave, now it's simply a question of, okay, we got the necessities, we got the papers, we got the pets, we got our clothes, we got the photos, we got all the important stuff to get the backup drive, get the extra cash, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, now let's walk the house, take 10 minutes because they're not kicking us out. We're leaving on our own early. What do we need? What did we miss? And at least that way, even if you get, you drive 2 hours away, you get to a safe spot and you're like, oh shit, we forgot something. You know what? That's fine. Because you got most of what you needed, and that's okay. The rest can be replaced if you need to. And that goes to the last part, executing the plan. Once you have a plan, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, you need to set some kind of threshold to yourself and say, if this incident gets to this point, we start packing. If it gets to this point, we're the hell out of here. And you need to be able to do it quickly, right? Because, you have a hurricane, you got 4 days. Right? The fires, you had maybe a day and a half before they really got into the subdivisions. You have an earthquake, you got 10 minutes, if that. Tornado, you got 5-10 minutes. And very often it hits you and you're like, okay, now we have a tornado or we have an earthquake. Now what? Right? You need to be able to go find the things you need quickly and execute. And if you got to go, get the hell out immediately. Don't stick around, go. So again, just to recap, Know your geography. With the geography, you know your risk. With your risk, you avoid complacency, and then you start your plan. And when you have your plan in place, it helps you execute in a calm, coherent manner. I hope this one helped you guys. Heartbreaking what's happening in California, but it sounds a lot of folks cause themselves a lot more hardship than necessary because they took things for granted. You guys be good, be safe out there. Remember, these steps apply to any emergency. Y'all take care of yourselves. God bless.